We are, we are here because we need to go through our duties, and we need to organize our life in such a way that our duties serve the purpose to produce spiritual growth, spiritual elevation. And then, of course, there are a few things involved. One is the goal. Are my goals only physical, material goals? You know, and if they are physical, material goals, am I pursuing it in a dharmic manner? For example, if someone says, my goal is to make a lot of money, and then someone said that to Swami Paramarthananda, the Swami Paramarthananda said, okay, great, make a lot of money, but be generous, you know, help a lot of people with a lot of money, you know, give out a lot to help others, to build schools, to help other people, to, you know, don't have this greediness, this thing about, you know, miserness. So if you want money, good. And then later on, this need for money is going to be converted into need or desire for spiritual growth, you know. But if you do it in a dharmic way, it's already moving us along the spiritual path. Yeah. So everything serves that purpose. Hello, Dave. I want to begin apologizing for you guys. I came to São Paulo. I'm in São Paulo today. I'm going to do a seminar, a 10-day seminar, or a 9-day seminar. There is a new group of people here that found me, and they have a huge sangha. They discovered Vedanta about 6 months ago, very silently. They start digging into my videos and everything, my page. And now, recently, they start showing up on my webinars, and they invite me to do something. They are wealthy people. They have a huge home with a huge first floor. So they have these chairs distant from 2 meters from one another. And we're going to do a beautiful seminar, connect to the web, including the name of the seminar is Karma Yana Moksha. So I want to cover the Karma Yoga in the beginning, and then we're going to go through Yana Yoga, covering 2 texts. One is Kena Upanishads, and the other is Atma Bodha. It's going to be beautiful, but unfortunately, it's all in Portuguese language. Anyhow, I'm coming here for this, and then I have another event in October. So, and then I'll be back in Italy, Ishwara willing. And I was planning to get organized so that I would not miss our meeting on Monday. But you know how it is tripping, to prepare a trip. I prepared everything. Okay, now my wife says, it's going to be crazy to do your class tonight. I said, no, I have everything prepared. And then time went on. Oh my God, and this. And then in the last moment, I'm sorry, I had to, on a short note, to cancel our meeting. But it's all good. Om Sadashiva Samarambha Ankarasharya Madhyamam Asmadasharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Mochi Veda Vibhagine Vyomavda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satguru Pranatosh Maha Om Shanti 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 Om. Welcome to our Q&A Satsang from São Paulo, Brazil, which is good for a change. And by the way, this seminar I will do with the Brazilian Sangha is going to be covering Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then in the weekdays, it's going to be only an hour and a half in the evening. And then in the last week, Saturday and Sunday. So it means to say we won't miss any of our meetings because our meetings are Mondays and Thursdays. So it's not going to interfere with our Sangha, okay? I have got one question from Michael, and the problem with Michael's questions is that they are always very difficult, you know, to be answered. So you don't find any easy questions, huh, Michael?
Sorry about that.
And has anybody else written any question as well? No, no? I did not miss any question, written question. But this one is going to give us a lot of room to elaborate. So he says, here are 2 questions for you today, dear Lindo. Can you explain the correct attitude and lifestyle of Karma Yoga? This is in connection to what Line was saying today. So can you explain the correct attitude and lifestyle of Karma Yoga? And how does one do Karma Yoga from moment to moment, including any prayers to God? So this is a very, very important subject, but I need to get some, I know I have it here. It's since a few years that I have a defect nose. My nose, I brought a plumber to check my nose. It's one of these taps that has a leak. It leaks a little bit, you know, and the plumber could not fix this leak. So once in a while, I have to pull the drops of leaks. Can you please explain the correct attitude and lifestyle of a Karma Yogi? And how does one do Karma Yoga from moment to moment, including the prayers to God? So this is a very profound, it's a very profound question that would give us room to elaborate on this for a weekend, which is the purpose. My first talks, the first weekend is going to be all about this question. Okay. Attitude and lifestyle to be a Karma Yogi. So as we know, human beings, the jivas, we are the doing, experiencing entities. We are designed by Ishvara to be the agents, the mediums by which actions are placed into the field. So we have this machinery, this body-mind complex designed to do actions. And this is unavoidable unless you are born with a huge spiritual vasana, such as Ramana Maharaj, that from childhood, he had no interest for acting or interacting with the world of objects, okay? Just a moment, there is one person still waiting here. I don't understand why he went. Unless we are Ramana Maharaj, and you have absolutely total dispassion about actions and its results, but it's very rare. And it means to say that Ramana Maharaj has gone through actions and its results in his previous births. Okay, because spiritual elevation is something that is not, it does not happen like in a lottery ticket. It's not like, you know, by chance. It is an individual effort that is going to build more and more spiritual punya. And then someone is still born, but it's so mature spiritually, and it has so much spiritual knowledge already planted in one's unconscious mind or subconscious mind, that when the baby is born, he is already like, look around and he says like, oh my God, there is nothing for me here, you know? How am I gonna go about living this life? You know? And then in the first opportunity, you see, oh, this boy is a problem. This is a problematic boy. He does not want to play baseball. He does not want to play American football. He does not want to go to these tours and that. He's interested in books and Vedic rituals, and he's interested in Krishna or whatever. No? So some people, they have more spiritual vasana, they are more spiritually elevated. So therefore, he's not compelled to actions and its results. So now, the large majority of us, 99.99999% of us, we are moved for action and by actions and its results. We want to do things to gain what we want or to avoid what we do not want. This is the life of every human jiva, is to act for the sake of accomplish what I want and avoiding, or pushing what I do not want. Okay, so how those individuals are called by the scriptures? They are called by two terms mainly. They are samsaris, the people that live for the sake of contacting these objects of the field as a means to gain them and develop a feeling of completion, of satisfaction. You understand? They are called samsaris. But they are also called karmis. Karmis is the one, karma, the word karma has several meanings depending on the context. But in this context, karma means literally action. Karmis are those that do actions, self-centered actions, for the sake of accomplishing or gaining benefits, personal benefits, or benefits for my family, my children, my close associates, and so on. Okay? Those are the karmis. So now, the scriptures of Gita, the scriptures of Karma Dharma, they present another concept. The concept is that the karmis, those that do actions for the sake of gaining benefits for oneself and others to whom they are very close, associated, and attached, those karmis, they need to grow to become karma yogis. You understand? Karma yogis. So when we attach this word yoga com karma, uma action associated with a yoga, you understand? So we are entering in what we call a spiritual religious lifestyle. Because now my actions, they are not only designed for the sake of me gaining or accomplishing what I want, but it's mostly designed for me to grow and refine spiritually. So how does that work, and how does one correctly develop this lifestyle and attitude? So you already put there lifestyle. So lifestyle is the first step, Michael. Lifestyle is, for example, if someone lives a life that is extremely rajasic, what is a rajasic lifestyle? Is someone who is very dynamic, is someone who is a go-getter, is highly accomplished, is a man of success, a man that makes things happen. He has the energy, he developed the skills, he studied and so on, and he goes to accomplish things that are going to give him or her a sense of satisfaction. There is nothing wrong about these actions. Most people in the world are in this position. They are just running to try to do actions that can somehow bring about this sense of completion, satisfaction. You understand? Those are called rajasic karmis. Okay? So the rajasic karmis are the ones that are in the do mode until the body mind is so tired, and then it shifts into tamas, and then they take a break, they collapse, they take a nap, they sleep, They drink a beer to help the sleep, or wine. Also, so now, this is a Rajasic lifestyle, very common. But there is also another lifestyle that it is even more detrimental to the life, for the spiritual growth of the individual. And this lifestyle is a tamasic lifestyle. A tamasic lifestyle is a lifestyle of a person who has some goals. I wish this, I wish that, you know. But you know what? It's too much of an effort, too much trouble, too much competition. And I have to go and compete and get education, develop the skills, and then those things and gain and and then later on, who knows how I'm going to keep what I get. Because one thing is to gain, the other thing is to keep. Because competition and scarcity, there are some laws that are operating all the time. Okay, so the tamasic lifestyle is the poorest sort of lifestyle. Why? Because the person is paralyzed with fear of failure. The tamasic people, they are daydreamers. They don't go for it because they feel self-defeat. They have usually a low self-esteem and they don't want to take risks in life. Usually they hate people who have success in life. Oh, those, those bastards, they have all the money and this, and they do this, and they accomplish that, and they have this attitude against the successful people. They don't want to go there. But when they really get some courage to go there and try to accomplish and gain things, because they see other people have access to this kind of pleasure, this kind of comfort, this kind of fame or respect and so on. And then some of these tamasic people, they develop a very brilliant idea. I also want everything that this bastard, these rich, successful people are having. I'm going to get it as well. But how is the tamasic people going to get it? Cheating, deceiving, stealing, tricking, manipulating, bribing, all these things that we see in the movies nowadays. Tamasic people, they don't want to play by the rules. They don't want to develop the skills, but they still have these suppressed desires. And when they become very latent, they want to be satisfied. And then the tamasic person living a tamasic lifestyles get together with a few more tamasic people, and then they plan a bank robbery. You understand? Why? They want to take it easy and take a shortcut, So we have the Rajasic lifestyle, we have the Tamasic lifestyle. Which one is better? The Rajasic lifestyle is
Rajas.
in every sense, because when you are a Rajasic person, at least you are not breaking the rules. You are playing by the rules. When you break the rules, when you don't play by the rules, not only you are hurting yourself and hurting the people that you are deceiving, tricking, robbing, and so on, but your mind is in constant disturbance, affliction, and fear. What fear? Of being caught. Of being caught. I have friends from the time of Osho Rajneesh. On those days, Osho Rajneesh, it was a different world, 70s and 80s. There was room for so many things, So came into place a new drug. It was called ecstasy at the time. And then some of my old friends began playing a bit with it. You understand? And some got away who is making a good small fortune, hiding somewhere, retiring as a rich person with a lot of money in the banks of Swiss and this and that. Okay, and they say, okay, I got away with it, no problem. I have all this money. I bought an island here, another island there in Brazil, and so on. So I'm a successful person. I'm highly respected by all these people. They know that I have boats and this and that. The mind of the person is like that, because when you live under this fear of being caught, those impressions, they do not erase from one moment to another. But now, listen what happened to a friend of mine. A friend, quote unquote, from the time that I took sannyas from Osho Rajneesh, on those days we had to wear red and have a mala and so on. A friend of mine, he was super rich. He was the Mr. So-and-so, one of the kings of the ecstasy business. He was very, very innocently and happily traveling around Europe. And he was stopped in one airport, and it was a Greek airport. And then they took him in. They saw that there was something about this guy. They digged a little bit, and he stayed forever in a prison in Greek. And the people there, they are very corrupted. They made a deal with him, but they took away all his wealth. In order to come out, they gave him freedom, but they took all his wealth, all. You see? A lot of lawyers helping him, and he had to give away everything. And that was decades afterwards, at least one decade, if not more. So when we do, Tamasic people has one advantage, only one, but it's a very poor advantage. Tamasic lifestyle. The Tamasic person is so lazy in general. It is a very, very highly skilled procrastinator. And he hates doing actions. So when you do not do much action, what happens? You don't do much with results of actions. So the only upside of being an extremely tamasic person is that you don't do as much with results of actions. The rajasic person instead is subject to a lot of mistakes in their actions and have to keep dealing with a lot of conflicting or difficult results of actions. Tamasic, the upside of tamasic people is that they do not deal much with results of actions. But what is the downside? Is that they don't grow. They don't experience joy, happiness derived of those moments of accomplishment, of happiness. They are so far from becoming a spiritual being to begin entering the world of Vedanta and so on. So the upside is that they don't do with much results of actions. They just sit around. That's the upside. The downside is that they're stuck. They're stuck in procrastination. They are depressed. They're apathic. Usually they like to drink a lot of beer and other things, and watching some movies and order some cheap pizzas and so on. So it lives on the minimum, not experience extreme conflicting results, not experience challenge of life, but a life of a rajasic person is very similar to a life of other animals. There are some animals that they just do whatsoever they are programmed to, and some animals are very tamasic. So if you don't have energy to go and try to accomplish your desires, you don't experience what? The joys, the pleasures, the happiness that life presents us. We know that life is about pleasures and pains, pleasures and pains, pleasure and pain. But the extremely tamasic person, it does not experience much pleasure and it does not experience much pain. And then one may say like, oh, maybe this is a better deal. No, it's not. We need to go through a Rajasic lifestyle to experience pleasures and pains, pleasure and pain, until we develop the maturity required to move into a spiritual religious lifestyle. Okay? So let's go back to your question here. Can you please explain the correct attitude in the lifestyle of a karma yogi? So the lifestyle of a karma yogi is someone who was born with enough rajas. He was not born like to procrastinate as a tamasic person. He is a karmi. He has his ambitions, his goals, his accomplishments, and he's going to follow his or her jiva natures and go about accomplishing its desires. Okay? So the lifestyle of a karma yogi is a lifestyle that interacts with the field of actions, follow the rules, and not violating the laws and rules, developing the skills, and playing with my goals, knowing that my goals, must be in harmony with the overall need of the total. My goals have to be in harmony with the field, with the laws. It has to be in harmony with Ishvara. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna challenged him about Krishna's own desires, and he says, I am the desire in total harmony with Dharma. Okay? When your desire is absolutely in harmony with the cosmic laws of the Lord Ishvara, in other words, when my desires are in total harmony with Ishvara, we come back and we say, in that case, your desires are not longer your desires, they are Ishvara's desires. You understand? Because then, and only then, my life is just an instrument of Ishvara, because my desires are aligned with Ishvara, and my desire is to contribute, to uphold and nourish the Dharma field. You understand? Protecting Dharma, helping the environment, So when our desire, which has its self-centeredness aspects as well, I want to accomplish this, I need a new job, I need a new car because my car is old. This is all perfect. But these desires need to be overwritten, if you can say that. It has to be under a certain desire, which is a desire to follow Dharma, to act, bring into consideration, bring into the picture Ishvara as the field, Ishvara as the laws governing the field, governing the lives of all living beings. So when my desires, they come from the standpoint that I have enough energy to go and fulfill my desire, we grow through our fulfillment of desire. Desire's fulfillment is the way to grow. And it grows faster and faster as we begin dedicating my actions, which are aligned with my desire. And this alignment of my desire is the desire for the field, for the overall need of the field. So my desire then becomes Ishvara's desires. It means to say, I'm acting, dedicating my life, my actions to Ishvara, know that I'm doing this, dedicate to Ishvara, because my desire is the desire in total harmony with the natural laws of Ishvara. So And then the scripture comes back and saying, in that case, it's no longer your desire. Is Ishwara's desires. You are just an instrument, a medium, an agent of Ishwara, designed to act according to these natural laws called Dharma, this to maintain and support this intelligent order called the Dharma field. You understand?
Arlindo?
Can I just carry on here? I want to finish this paragraph and then I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
call you. And then that's it. You say, the correct attitude. We know that Karma Yoga is composed by two things, or three if we want. Actions, and these actions must be based on the rational logic contained by the Karma Yoga scripture knowledge, okay? So we need to act in harmony with Dharma, in harmony with the other creatures. So there is the logic, there is the rationale, how to be a Karma Yogi. But Karma Yogi is a Karma Yogi only to the degree that he's following Dharma, he's doing his actions, you know, he leaves the results to the field, to the system, and so on. But in order for this karmi that became karma yogi to be really a karma yogi, he needs to develop the other aspect of a karma yogi, which is yoga. Yoga is this attitude, the correct attitude, as we say, the correct attitude that is based, it is supported by a certain lifestyle. Because if my lifestyle is frenetic, if I want to be a billionaire above everything, and then it's very difficult to live a yogi life, a karma yogi life. You understand? So I have to align my values, my lifestyle in the way that I can act, I can accomplish my personal goals. My personal goals should benefit not only me, but everyone. You understand? I have to be a contributor. And this attitude, one thing is the rational, the logic, the understanding of the science of Mithya, the science of Ishwara in its relationship with Jiva and Jagata. This is one aspect. The other aspect, Marta, which is the most important and relatively difficult for the Westerns, is to develop this attitude of worship, this attitude of dedication of my actions to the field, knowing, developing this vision, understand that the field and every creature is Ishwara. Everything is integral part of Ishwara. The field is Ishwara, and I want to contribute. I want to add value, as Ramji often says. I want to add value to this Mithya order of reality. I want to be someone who has a positive impact on this field. And so this attitude of gratitude, of devotion, of worship, of adding value, of contributing, of giving back, this attitude is what turns the karma within the context of the logic of karma yoga, turns the karmi into a yogi. Karma yogi is someone who understands this knowledge. Karma yoga is under the umbrella of Vedanta because it is knowledge yoga. We need to understand the logic, the rationale of how Mithya works and the laws governing our experience. Once we understood that, and then we are not going to violate the laws, we're going to contribute, we are going to do good action, but in order for our spiritual growth rapidly develop, we need to develop this devotional bhakti attitude towards life, knowing that everything is the Lord manifest as Ishwara the Lord. You understand? It is this attitude that turns the karma yogi into a religious, spiritual being. And then this process of purification, refinement of the mind, it speeds up, because now I'm developing this vision that everything is the Lord and everything is beautiful. I understand the laws, even when things are going south and the things are looking bad. I understand this perfect order. Ishwara is this living being, intelligent design. Its very fabric is knowledge, intelligence, and everything happens according to its order for the sake of all jivas, to propitiating the elevation of all jivas through this process of cause and effect, actions and results of actions. It's all our parabolic karmas coming to us on the personal level, on the national level, on the planetary level, and in the cosmic level. You understand? So this is all Ishwara, and we develop this vision only to the extent that we develop this attitude of gratitude and devotion, worship. I do what I do for the Lord. Every human being is a representation of the Lord. And what can I do to help? What can I do to serve? The karmi wants to do things. What can I get from you? What you have for me? You understand? The karmi yogi says, so what can I do for you? How can I make you happy? How can I give you some satisfaction? Can I cook you an omelette? Can I do this for you? Can I do that for you? You understand? So we want to serve rather than being served. We want to give rather than being gatherers, just takers. You understand? This is the attitude. Let me go and conclude this first aspect. And then it says, how does one do karma yoga from moment to moment, including prayers to God? So the karma yogi lives from this platform of Mithya knowledge or Ishwara knowledge. I used to call this in the old days Ishwara knowledge and self-knowledge. So the first stage is to develop this Ishwara knowledge, the knowledge of Mithya, the understanding of Lord Ishwara. And then our actions, they become prayers. The word worship is we pray, we adore, we worship Ishwara as the field to the extent, to the degree that I'm serving the field. I'm serving the field, I'm serving the Lord. These are my prayers, you understand? Which does not exclude moments of prayer to say, oh Lord, I'm doing my work here. I became a karma yogi. I'm contributing. I'm less greedy. I'm less miser, less taker, and I'm more giver. And I want to bring you and the field and the overall need of the total. So help me to clear my mind, purify my heart so that I can keep this vision of you manifest as the universe, manifest as my environment. So this is a beautiful prayer as an example, you understand? So we don't want to have prayers to Ishwara, say like, oh, Ishwara, please, I need a new girlfriend. Oh, Ishwara, I need a new job. So a higher prayer is, Ishwara, please, help me to develop this vision, of you, Lord, so that I can be at your service. I can contribute. I can add value, because doing so, I'm just having joy. My actions now, they are source of joy. My joy does not depend anymore on the result of such actions. My joy is in the act of dedicating my actions to the Lord. This is pure, the highest possible level of prayer, Michael. You understand? My prayer is here, Shwara, my actions. I apologize if I fall short, due to my lack of purity. I'm still growing. I'm still elevating myself. And please help me, so that my actions can become purer and purer and purer and purer. Because now I understood the purpose of life is not materially accomplishment or accumulation. The purpose of life is to serve, to contribute, to add value, to grow spiritually and support others to grow spiritually as well. You understand? This is the most beautiful prayer. Thank you, Lord. In the morning, when we get up, oh Lord, thank you, another day. Another day. Thank you. And then I'm going to have my breakfast and coffee. Oh Lord. No. Thank you, Lord. Brahman, Panam, Brahman, Havi, Brahman, Yahu, Brahman, Nutan, Brahmaiva, Tena, Gatavyam, Brahmakama, Samadhina, Hayom, Shri Guru Namaha, Hayom. Thank you, Lord. This is all you, the fire that cook, the digestion that's going to break down, transform these nutrients into life energy, into my intelligent intellect, so that I can see you, I can recognize you, and I can serve you. Beautiful prayers. You understand? So this is the life of a religion, spiritual being, entity, that is incredibly fulfilling, and it's incredibly purifying the mind of the individual, the intellect of the individual. Those are the prayers that I highly recommend to all of us. Anything about this, your first question, Michael?
So, like as an example, like let's say that I'm gonna have some food, or like there's a meal that I go to my parents to eat dinner, and they basically provide the food and they offer the meal. I would say something to the Lord, like I offer this food to you, Lord, or thank you for this food, like quietly to myself or in my head, like that. Is that
Yeah,
part of the
yeah.
practice?
It's enough not to upset anybody else's culture or anything, and say, "Oh Lord, thank you, thank for the moment, thank for the company of my folks here, thank for this meal." I mean, in India there is a culture that before people eat, they offer the food to the Lord, because when you offer the food to the Lord, and then the idea is that the food gets blessed by the Lord. You say, "Oh Lord, here is my offering, this is the food," and you wait, and then the Lord bless the food, and then when you eat the food is not only infused with nutrients, but it's infused with spiritual nutrients, because it was blessed by the Lord. So this is the rationale, the context, the basic. You offer to the Lord so that it can be infused not only with nutrition, but with spiritual nutrition. You understand? Now it's radiant with the blessing of the Lord. You understand? So you, in your silent heart, you say, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for life. Thank you for my parents who gave me life." You understand? In the Vedic culture, everybody has to bless the parents. They have a huge respect for the parents, because the parents were the agents, the mediums by which Ishvara brought me here. No matter how uneducated parents may be, but they served as an agent, vessel, or a medium by which, "Thank you, Lord, thank you, my parents, you brought me into this, you know, thank you, Lord, for this meal."
And the part about not being attached to the outcome, is there something to be done there in the moment, or is it just a mental note that you make to yourself that you're not going to be attached?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I like your question because they are really full on. They cover every angle. So you have a very good mind, by the way. So there are two aspects of the Karma Yogi. The Karma Yogi is the one who is called to respond to the field with an action, and has to be appropriate, timely, and with a certain attitude. A proper, timely action associated with a proper attitude turns that simple action into a spiritual action. Karma yoga. It's my action now is my yoga. Okay. So this is on the side of doing, the doer aspect of our jiva entity. The jiva entity has two personalities. It has a personality as the karta, the one who is bringing the action to the field. Okay, but it has another aspect of its personality as the bhokta. The bhokta is the aspect of one's personality that is there to receive the results of the field, to receive the parabodha karma, to receive whatsoever life circumstances bring to me. My cries, good moments, bad moments, papas or punyas or whatever. So we have these two aspects of our personality, the doer and the receiver. You understand? So as you said, when we receive our parabodha karma, so again, we have to have this understanding, but the understanding alone is not enough to neutralize those receptions when they are extremely adverse to our likes and dislikes. So when we are receiving, on our receiving side, our bhakta aspect of our jivahood, when we are receiving and the reception is very much adverse, cries, difficulties, challenge, you understand? So we need to have not only the understanding that, oh, it's like that, I understood karma, I understood causality, I understood all the factors, I know that everything is impacting everything else. So I understood all of that. Therefore, it's all cool. That rationale, that logic alone is not going to immunize the bhakta against strong papa karmas. You understand? The only thing that's going to allow, we're going to allow the bhakta to receive that with elegance, with gratitude, as prasada, with nice balance. The only thing is the yoga aspect of the karma yoga. The yoga is the attitude that the individual jiva developed in regards to the actions and the results of the actions. I have this attitude when I'm acting, and I have this attitude when I'm receiving the results of my action. When I receive these results of my actions, I need to have the understanding that it was intelligent designed to serve the purpose, which is propitiating my spiritual growth. Oh, but it's a horrible thing that is happening. It's perfect. It's pure intelligence. This order is perfect. And if nothing else, I can say, okay, it's going to be painful. It's going to be a lot of suffering. But if it's coming to me, it means to say, I need to exhaust this papa. I have some karmic debt that I need to exhaust. So this attitude is the yoga aspect of the karma yoga. I'm going to be able to receive that as prasad only to the extent that I developed not only the understanding, the rationale of karma yoga, but I developed the attitude of the yogi, which allows me to act with an attitude of devotion, worship, contribution, gratitude, and so on, but receive with that spirit of prasada. Thank you, Lord. That's what it is. So it must be what I need, because I understood that this order is intelligent, designed knowledge, which is but knowledge and knowledge alone. It's the very fabric of Ishvara. His conscious being is knowledge, is sattva guna, is pure knowledge. It makes no mistake, regardless of the adversities we may be facing. You understand? So we are going to be able to Take that without freaking out. Take that with elegance. Take that with some certain equanimity. Or at least we have what this some of our text says that we have a shock absorber. When big adverse big crisis come to us, we have the shock absorber, which is this knowledge slash attitude, which is it's all right. This is all karma. If it's coming to me, it's because it serves a purpose. So therefore, I need to go through this suffering. So we can look again back to the example of Ramana Maharaj. Ramana Maharaj, he was there living his life, enjoying, getting old and so on, and then he has this cancer. And this cancer has caused him enormous pain, suffering. The last picture they took of him, his body mind was like, almost without life energy. He had some tears coming through his eyes when he was taking the last look of his lifetime in this environment. You could see that his body was physically in pain, but he was cool, he was conscious until the last prana left his body. You understand? So how he was taking that? With total acceptance, I mean, it came to me because, I deserve it. There is something that I did sometime that somehow brings these moments of pain and suffering and ends my life. This is taking life as prasad that requires a lot of spiritual maturity, spiritual elevation. Some Ayurvedic doctors went trying to save his life with this cancer, got some blend of herbs with muds and special muds here and there, and started applying on his cancer. He had a cancer on his arm. And then he looked at that, and because he was trying to say, no, leave him alone, let me die. I have to die. And then they applied that on his body. He looked at it and he had a small smile and he said, oh my God, these people are crazy. You know that, Lynn? And then he said, these people are crazy. They are putting mud over mud, In other words, they are putting the 5 elements over 5 elements, and they are not aware, that I'm not made of 5 elements. I'm not made of mud. I'm the spirit. My spirit is free, and I will never go anywhere. You understand? So this is the attitude, and this is very nice you brought of the Karma Yoga in respect to the receiver, the reception, the one who's receiving the results of one's karma. That can be my personal direct karma, can be a collective karma, a family karma, can be something more wide, like the nation. Just imagine if there is a war now between China and, let's say, there is some conflict that to me is just smoke, it's just a play. But just imagine if there is a war between China and the USA. It means to say that every USA citizen is going to be dealing with national karma, karma between two nations. So we have all these karmas operating, and we need to have this spiritual knowledge so that we can understand intellectually, but this all spiritual knowledge about Jnana Yoga or Karma Dharma Yoga needs to go beyond the intellectual knowledge to become emotional knowledge. Emotional knowledge is to converting this knowledge into devotion, into acceptance, a positive acceptance, my likes and dislikes have to be converted in this worship, this devotion, this beautiful acceptance, that this is all the Lord, and if it's coming to me, it is because I need it. You understand? In the past, I used to say, it doesn't matter if things get tough. You have always the good option of committing suicidal. I think I got that from Ramji some time ago. Oh, you can just check out. No, no, no. Things are getting very tough here. There is war. I don't want to run around. Or something else happens, you know. I have my gun. I just put an end to my life. And then lately, it came to my mind that that's not cool. It's not cool. Because if life brings us a lot of adversity, and if I take off my life to avoid those kind of adversities, you know, I will have to come back to still go through those kind of adversities. That's why the Vedic culture says that suicide is the worst possible thing for the soul. We need to accept whatsoever life brings to us. You understand? We need. I mean, if it is adverse, if it's proper, so let's. I want to pay my debts here. I don't want to come back to find myself again in the same situation to pay these debts. When we have debts, we want to get rid of debts, huh? No, no, I want to pay my mortgage. I want to pay this because I don't like debts. No? Shall we go into your second questions, or we don't have time? We still have some time. I'm jet lagged and I'm very dry. I'm going to get a little more water. Give me just 2 minutes, please. Okay, so let's go to the second part of. So there is a message here. It's from Dave. Sorry to leave. I want to discuss more. If I have the, you have to leave now, David? Yeah.
I usually allocate like an hour for this, and I've got commitments.
We'll see you next time. It's going to be recorded, and then you will have time to look into it later on, the second half here. Let me see who is here with us. We have Ruth. Most probably she's on her pajamas. That's why she's not showing up. And we have Ronald. Who is the other person? There is somebody not showing here. Maybe it's a spy. Oh, it's Mark that's not showing. Okay.
Yeah, my sound's not too good today, so I've got the picture off.
Good. Okay, I just like to know, in our Portuguese classes, we are having spies coming to the class lately. Okay, we go into the second part of Michael's. And the second, I think, if I remember well, is even more difficult to answer. And then he jumps from Karma Yoga into Yana Yoga. I believe he says, I understand that I am awareness, and this understanding is clear. Is that so? And this understanding is clear. But when I hear the word consciousness, I cannot understand it. So I understand that I am awareness, but I wonder, when I hear the word consciousness, I cannot understand it. Can you please describe what consciousness is, whether there is difference between consciousness and awareness, and whether consciousness includes both the unmanifest and the manifest? Love, Mike. Okay. So when we enter, when we dive into these deeper waters of Vedanta, and we will begin analyzing the nature of consciousness or existence. So we are moving into very, very subtle analysis, So what is consciousness? So as we know, consciousness can never be described like we describe anything else, because everything we describe is described by what? By its properties, by its usefulness, attributes, functions, and it's described by its shape. Yeah. And we know that everything that we can say this is it is limited by space, time, and after all, it's limited by its physicality and its property. You understand? So anything is not all over. Just imagine a pen that is limitless pen. It means to say that this pen is limitless from the physical standpoint. So it's a pen that can grow, and takes over the entire universe because it's physically limitless. No, we know that it's not possible. Everything that we can say this is it is limited by its borders, its shape, its functions, its properties. You understand? And it's limited by time as well. What it means, limited by time? This pen cannot be here and there in the USA. And also it means that this pen exists today, but it's not going to exist in 100 years. Instead, it's going to be broken down. It's going to go back to dust. You understand? So there is a limitation about time. There is a limitation about space. It cannot be here and there. You understand? And it's limited by its properties. Okay? So now, but you know that you awareness, but when you hear consciousness, you cannot understand consciousness. To begin with, consciousness is synonymous of awareness. So Ramji likes better to use the word awareness. Again, this is personal preference of the teacher. The teacher has its preference, and it has its reasons to prefer certain words. Words are always very limited to describe something that cannot be described. Some teachers prefer to use awareness. Why? Because when we talk in terms of consciousness, everything is consciousness, and you are consciousness. The first thing that comes to our mind is what? Human consciousness, right? What is human consciousness? Sentience, human sentience.
A stream of objects passing through consciousness.
Human sentience, which is nothing but mind, a bundle of thoughts. Understand? So we think that consciousness should not be used because it is associated to the mind, to the thoughts, and then people say, "Oh, consciousness. Yeah, of course, consciousness. I know. I have my own consciousness. Cloud has his own consciousness. Karen has her own consciousness." And then they say, everybody has one's consciousness. Oh, yes, I have my consciousness as well. Oh, in the New Age world and all this, this spiritual market, people refer the mind as consciousness. They equate the mind as consciousness. And then they go into all these stories that the consciousness is expanding and growing. We need to expand this consciousness so that we can bring this, to all this information. No, this is thought. This is mind. This is mental contents. This is information that we want to spread. But thoughts, notions, informations is not consciousness. Thoughts, notions, and informations, they appear, remain, and disappear within the scope of consciousness. They appear in consciousness. We hold them for some time, and then they gradually change, and over time they even disappear because they are proved to be fake news, as we say nowadays, fake news. So, what is consciousness? Consciousness is not thought, it's not ideas, it's not notions. Consciousness is that in which presence, ideas, notions, thoughts come and go, come, stay, and go. Consciousness is the subject, self-conscious, non-experience principle in which thoughts, notions, experience, concepts, scientific knowledge come and go. There is always a presence of the subject witnessing, non-experiencing principle in which all these human thoughts that they confuse with human consciousness appear, stay for some time, and disappear. Are you with me, Michael? You want to drink a coffee? Okay. I'm going to drink some water for both of us. So I understand that I am awareness, and this understanding is clear. But when I hear the word consciousness, consciousness is synonymous of awareness. Ramji likes to call awareness to differentiate from human consciousness. There is too much confusion about calling the mind consciousness, thought consciousness, and then he calls it awareness. But when you call things awareness, on the other hand, it brings about another strange connotation, which is attention. And attention is another function of the mind. It's called focus. It's a qualification or quality of the mind, of the intellect. The qualification of one-pointedness, of focus, of attention. To call consciousness attention or awareness is also misleading. You understand? It's not the best possible word, because awareness, be aware of this, be aware of that, be attentive of this, pay attention, be aware. You understand? So all words, they fall short to describe what we are. So I like to use the word consciousness, because when I use consciousness, I make a very clear distinction or point to say that this conscious is not an experiencing consciousness, but it is pure, limitless, unaffected consciousness, pure consciousness, which shines in the intellect of all jivas to produce what we call awareness, attention, reflected consciousness. You understand? Are you following, Michael? Reflected consciousness. Okay, attention. Okay, sentience. This is human consciousness, human mind, human intellect. Okay, so I prefer to use consciousness, because consciousness, using the word consciousness allows us what? Allows us to understand that we enjoy a certain feature called sentience, which is nothing but consciousness. I'm conscious of what? I'm conscious of my environment. And when I use this word consciousness, I have the possibility to understand that this individual consciousness, which is a reflection of consciousness on one's intellect, is fundamentally, essentially of the same nature of the source of consciousness, which is limitless. You understand? Limitless, infinite consciousness. The universe, the only reality in the universe is called Sat Chitananda, is the isness or existence that concedes existence to everything. And this isness, existence, is also synonymous of consciousness or knowledge, because Maya throw these words out of Sattvaguna, which is pure knowledge, pure intelligence. So the nature of our Brahman, let's call Brahman now, the nature of Brahman is existence consciousness. And when we call the mind of the Jiva, the intellect of the Jiva, you understand? When we call this phenomenon called the Jiva, which is the reflection of this pure limitless consciousness in the subtle body of the Jiva, of the individual, to produce this reflected consciousness. When we keep calling it consciousness, reflected consciousness, individual consciousness, personal consciousness, we have the potential to understand that the nature of this reflect consciousness, the nature of my individual consciousness is equal to the nature of the consciousness which is Brahman. Therefore, the Upanishads assert that Jivatma equal Paramatma, Tattvamasi. You understand? The nature of this reflect consciousness is equal of the nature of Paramatma, which is the source, the only reality, which is Satchit, existence and consciousness. It's made of knowledge, consciousness. You understand? So I prefer to use consciousness. They are basically used interchangeably. And you understand that you are consciousness because you understand that you are awareness. And you have no doubt that you are conscious, right? You have no doubt that you are consciousness. So you have just to understand more clearly that consciousness, Mike, are not the thoughts that pop in your mind from moment to moment, keep changing. These thoughts, they are just this natural phenomenon of these notions, these thoughts that come from our causal body, from our impressions, or they come from the field. It's unavoidable. So these thoughts, it's not your consciousness. Your consciousness is this witnessing principle in which these thoughts, your life history, the event, anything that you experience against this background, and this background is called consciousness. We just have to understand that my human consciousness is not thoughts, notions, ideas, emotions. This is not my emotion. It's the witnessing principle, okay? And I obtained this witnessing principle from the reflection of a pure, limitless consciousness, which is not an experiencing witnessing principle, but I enjoy of a witnessing principle as a knower experience due to this reflection on my mind. Therefore, I experience all these subtle objects, such as thoughts, emotions, my life history, the events of my life, anticipations of the future. I experience all of this because I am this witnessing principle, a byproduct of the non-experiencing witnessing principle that becomes an experiencing witnessing principle due to this reflection that occurs in my subtle body, I become this witnessing experiential principle, which is a knowing experience entity, is the jiva. And the nature of the jiva is exactly equal to the nature of Brahman, which is consciousness and consciousness existence alone. And then we add a certain feature of consciousness called Ananta, because we are not only consciousness, existence, consciousness, but we are the nature of infinite limitlessness. Why? Why we are limitless? And this is the most tricky part to really understand and retain this knowledge and integrate, internalize it. Our nature is limitlessness, because in reality, all there is conscious existence. All this superimposition of people, place, things, events, situations, all these objects, all these names and forms that somehow they are superimposed on this witnessing, non-experience, limitless principle, all this superimposition makes this consciousness, which is limitless, is the source of existence and consciousness, makes it appear as associated with these superimpositions and make it appear as if feeling limited by this association, in other words, attachment to these superimpositions. But the scripture says that consciousness, existence, is not only a karta, does not do anything, is not only nirvikaraha, does not change from experience, experience does not change it, but it also says that this conscious existence is asanga. It is associationless. It does not associate with anything. Maya produced this apparent association of myself as consciousness with these superimpositions of names and forms, and makes that consciousness becomes the individual, the experienced entity that feels bound by these associations and identified by these associations, which work to define what he believes to be himself as a personality. You understand? So this is something that I suggest you listen again and again and bring more questions for our next session, because we are diving into deeper waters of Vedanta, which seems is becoming a vasana here in our group. Huh? Every time we are diving into become more kind of. Let me see if there is anything more to your question here. Can you please describe what consciousness is? Consciousness is that which cannot be described. The only way we can describe consciousness is by pointing out its nature. The nature of consciousness is existence, its consciousness, and its limitlessness. And in some other texts, they present another nature or another feature of consciousness, which is that which can never be negated, because it's the only principle that's always ever present. Consciousness is unnegatable. It is limitless, it is existence, it is all over, it's the only thing in town, as we say, and because it's always ever present, it's the only principle that we cannot negate, we cannot reject. When we go through our net, what is consciousness? The only way to describe consciousness is by removing everything that can be illumined, disclosed, revealed, and known by the light of consciousness. What is consciousness? Oh, not this, not the. Anything that can be seen, known, experienced, illumined is not consciousness. So, but then what is consciousness? Okay, now you have to continue negating, 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 negate. And then you say, okay, now let's add a fourth feature of consciousness is no, how you say, deniability to negate something and not negate, negatable, unnegatable. And now I got it right, right? No, I got it right? Yes, unnegatable, okay? The fourth feature of consciousness is unnegatable. Why? Because it's that which never not present. How it is present? As the illuminator of the mind. It illuminates the mind, it shines in the minds of all jivas and illuminates the field of experience of each jiva to illumine the object so that the jiva can transact in the field. And the purpose of this transaction is to grow, evolve, purify, refine until the jiva can understand his or her true nature as Brahman, as pure, limitless consciousness. You understand? So what is awareness? What is consciousness? Can you please describe what's consciousness? It is undescribable in the sense that it's not an object of knowledge. Every object of knowledge you can describe in many different ways. Usually we describe against other objects, comparing about its functions, its properties, you know. So consciousness cannot be described because it's not an object. Consciousness is that without which objects just poof out of existence. Consciousness is that concedes, provides conscious existence to all objects of experience. And as the illuminator, it's going to make possible for its jivas to experience, to witness, and to know everything that can be known in terms of media, in terms of scientific knowledge, objective knowledge. So we can never know consciousness, but can you understand the point here? Consciousness, although can never be defined, can never be described, can never be known, can never be experienced. It does not mean that consciousness does not exist. Do you agree with that, Michael? Consciousness?
Yes.
To say that it cannot be touched, known, experienced, it does not mean that consciousness does, because consciousness is that in which present things can be known. Now, how can the photograph, the camera photograph that can make thousands of pictures all over the world, how can this camera, even this automatic with a timing and so on, how is it possible that the cameras, they are never appearing to the pictures? You understand? How can the knower, the subject, absolute knower, appear in those pictures of consciousness if it is the very camera, you know, is the very subject witnessing principle by which things are known, by which the eyes can see, by which the ears can hear, the palate can be enjoyed, the skin can be experiencing the texture. So consciousness and the mind can never, the five senses in the mind can never objectify and know consciousness, because consciousness is the source of the eyes, the source of the mind, the source of the ear, the source of the nose, the source of the skin. It's by these organs of experience that they are backed up by consciousness consciousness will never appear in the movie, into the pictures. But by inference, we know that a picture cannot exist without a camera. You understand? I don't know you, Mike, but I'm 100% sure of the existence of your grandfather. You know, I'm 100% sure. How do I know that? You know, it's pure logic. You have a father. Who had a father? Who had a father? You understand? I know that you have a grandfather. You understand? So once you understand that nothing can be known without this conscious principle that is shining in your mind, but it's not your mind, it's not your thoughts, it's not your life, but without this principle, this witnessing, non-experienced conscious existence principle, once we know that clearly, the same way that the cameras are always behind every picture, that the grandfathers is always behind every human being. It's simple knowledge, you understand? And then you know, of course, there is a principle called consciousness, but somehow I discount it, I overlook it. I never paid attention to see that without this pure light of consciousness, my mind is not shining, my prana is not doing its jobs. You understand? My legs are not moving. And my thoughts and emotions, they cannot process, experience. You understand? So I am this light of consciousness that is self-luminous, self-evident, always present, never not present, but yet not available for direct knowledge through the five senses and the mind, because it's something beyond or before the body-mind complex. The body-mind complex is somehow a projection of Maya. Consciousness is beyond Maya, Ishvara, and everything. But we know that our life is only carry on due to this principle, and that is my nature. That is our nature. That's all there is to self-knowledge. It's the most simple understanding. That once it's clear, you just know what you are, and you know what the agent Jiva is. And then you have the opportunity to gradually shift your identity from that which is limited, understand? From that which is temporal. You shift that to that which is eternal. My consciousness, my true nature, the essence of my human experience, my human life. Let me see if there is more to it. Can you please describe what consciousness is? Whether there is difference between consciousness and when there is no difference, just personal preference, and whether consciousness includes both. Consciousness is not the sum of awareness plus consciousness. Consciousness is just this witnessing, subject, non-experiencing, infinite, eternal principle that shines in the minds of all living creatures. And it also shines in the lives of all non-sentient creatures. Inert objects are also creatures. They are creatures because they were created by Maheshwara. Consciousness is shining there. Why it's shining there? Because it's, when you look into a stone, it's dynamically and intelligently kept together by Ishwara's laws. The only thing is that having no subtle body does not become self-luminous the same way the subtle body of the human. So they are not living creatures, but they are creatures. And when you really look deep inside, you'll see that they are just pure dynamic intelligence that keeps those atoms together with designed and defined by its properties that serves certain purpose in the overall creation of the Lord. Understand? So we are that. Consciousness is not a combination of parts. Consciousness, as we say, is a partless whole. Understand? It's a partless whole. It is the principle by which Maya creates its apparent reality. There is only consciousness. It's not made of parts. That's why we can appreciate and enjoy our nature as limitlessness, that which has no border. It's just, beyond all universe. Okay? Now, have we covered more or less your question, Michael?
Yes, thank you very much.
Anybody has any other thing to say, or we can call for the day? I would rather call because I'm still jet lagged. I'm tired, but I'm happy to see that my mind is sharp and the inspiration level is good. And I think we had a good satsang. I'm going, when the satsang is good, I place on my Facebook page as well. We say goodbye. Hello, my dear friend Mark.
Hello, Alinda. Thank you. It was wonderful.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Brahman. Thank you, Satchitananda. Thank you all. And we meet again next Monday. Much love to all.
Thank you, Orlando.
Good to see you again.
Thanks, Orlando.
And sorry
Thank you very much.
Sorry for letting you guys down last Monday.
Thank you very much.
We
Thank
talk
you.
later.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.